How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the Blue Shifting, and welcome back to Higurashi When They Cry. So we're in like the second part of whatever the chapter is. I think it's chapter 6 of the festival. So the first one was really fun, you know, just going around doing random games, got to shoot down the bear, even got a unremembered kiss from Rena, which is really fun, sweet. Still, I'm not a huge fan of her particularly as a character, but I do see like she's very sweet and just kind of, it's just a fun, building good memories, all that good stuff. It was a really good time, and also really fun to read your comments on the last video. There's a few of you just kept talking about the concepts about the way the characters and the stories being paced and how interesting it is, and also I got to do a little reminiscing about like the joys of childhood and just how because it always happens too around this time of year, because this is around the holidays for Christmas for me and New Year's, and I have a lot of good memories of that as a kid that I didn't treasure when I was younger. It didn't seem all that special to me, but now I look back on it, it means a lot. So it was like already in my mind, and so to have it kind of reflected here was really fun to see. But yep, now we're going to see the culmination of the festival. So essentially, whatever this episode is likely to be, unless something really crazy happens, my plan is to play it until we get to the end and play whatever tips we unlock, and then that'll be the end of the episode. So based on what people were saying, I assume it'll be about an hour long or so. Could be longer, could be shorter, we'll see. Anyway, there's not much else to it. I'm having fun. Let's get started and see what happens. So, let's get started. I just said get started twice, so I'm just losing my mind. From the altar set up in front of the shrine, the drums sounded with a booming echo. It was the finale of the festival. Have fun, Rika.
おっと、僕も早く行っていいポジションを確保しないとな。じゃあみんな、後ほど。
Tomatake, you were reasonably fun to mess around with. I'm glad you're here. Both Rika-chan and Tomatake-san give up farewells and disappeared into the crowd. Okay, where are we gonna be going? Alright, weird way to say that. Aha! Uh-oh, what is she doing? What is happening? Since she was carrying such a ridiculously large stuffed animal, she was being carried by the flow of the people. Must be a big bear. Uh-huh. Yeah, but Mion's trying to, like, give them some space. It's kind of sweet. Alright, Rana, where are you going? Look at, there's a little Gundam back there. Before losing sight of Mion, I grabbed the back of Rena's collar. Why? Oh my gosh. I didn't feel ashamed at all. Rena was ashamed enough for both of us. I grabbed onto Rena's hand and dashed after Mion and the others. Aww. I hadn't realized Rena's hand was so delicate. Maybe she needed a bit more exercise and nutrition? That wasn't what I meant, not at all. And my ears burned. I tried to keep calm. I repeated the phrase, "Keep it together, Keiichi Meiba," but in my mind, but didn't look like I'd be able to anytime soon. I really didn't want Rena to see my face right then, so I pushed onward, dragging her along without looking back even once. Oh, look at this ominous glow. Oh no, that looks terrifying. There was already a huge group of people gathered together at the altar in front of the shrine. The fire at the altar made it as bright as midday and just as hot. Okay, that makes more sense. All right, bonfires are very fun, very cool. I was actually talking about this recently. So my grandpa, he did a lot of cool stuff. One of the things he did is he ran like a bunch of like camping log cabins up in the mountains near some pretty big national forests, and he also worked with what's called the chinker. Essentially, they're the people who prepare, stack, and construct homes and buildings out of logs. Like when you think log cabin, like he was one who built that, and he would he would work with a team, and they'd set up the logs and put it's not a lacquer, it's whatever they have a kind of a a sticky substance that fuses the logs together and keeps out the wind. And then you stack them and kind of help hold them together. And really, it was really interesting that he did. It worked really, really hard. But one of the things he got to do is he would get scrap from these various projects, and at the end of the year, usually, he would kind of bring them all together and make essentially a giant Lincoln log style bonfire that was humongous. And like the heat of it was so intense, you could be standing like 15, 20 feet away, and it would be so hot that you didn't need to wear coats or jackets, anything in the middle of winter, and you just couldn't get very close because it was so big. There was a pile of futons warded with sanctified rope in front of the altar. Come to think of it, they did say it was a festival where they did something with the cotton and futons. Yeah. Satoko waved her hand from the front row.
Oh, span.
Making our way through the mass of people, we reached the spot they'd saved. Oh, shut your mouth. Instead of replying, Mion gave us a perverse grin. Oh, she knew. Rena turned bright red, pus of steam shooting out of her. I heard something slice through the air and turned around to see Mion on the ground with a welt on her face. Holy crap! Okay, so he described Rena's hand as being small and delicate, and yet she can literally, like, knock people to the ground with punches. That doesn't seem normal.
Rena, 照れ隠しに友達を殴るのは良くないぞ。
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Okay. Thump. The thunderous beat of a drum echoed, silencing the crowd. Alright, here we go. It was a solemn ritual. Oh, that music has gotten weird. Rika-chan entered dressed as a shrine maiden, followed by members of the municipal committee. The elders all looked at Rika-chan and clapped their hands in praise. The only thing that allowed to disturb the profound silence was a flash from Tomatake-san's camera.
Rika-chan が持ってるあのでかいのはなんだ?
A hoe, huh? Okay. Alright, so it's like the deity that they are reverencing here is meant to be one that oversees farmland cultivation. That makes sense. It was an awkward shape for a piece of farm equipment, not uncommon for something used in rituals. After reciting a Shinto prayer, Rika-chan approached the pillar of futons gathered at the altar. Now, obviously this is a game, but I do find that the traditions of Shintoism are very interesting. That's one of the things I would love to be able to go and kind of have a bit of an experience with. I find spirituality really interesting. I don't know how much of it is all, like, legitimate, obviously, but, like, there's a lot of legitimacy to faith and just what people believe, and a lot of traditions are really cool to learn about and their origins and what they meant for people, and I find all that really unique. And so one of the places I really want to go visit is a couple shrines, and I don't want to just go to one of those ones that's just packed full of tourists all the time. I really want to go visit one of those shrines that's, like, in the communities, in the backcountry, kind of like what this one would be, where you get more of the, like, keeping the tradition alive and kind of remembering the past for the sake of remembering the past, rather than for the sake of, you know, getting money from visitors. For me, that would be far more interesting. She swung the hoe skillfully, plowing it in furrows. Into the futons. Oh, sorry. Each and every little movement of this performance probably had been done in a certain way. Without a doubt, this was a ritual.
今度はなんだ? 布団叩きかな?
あれはね、人間に代わって冬の病魔を吸い取ってくれたお布団を清めてるの。
Ah, okay. That's kind of a fun, like, logical connection there.
ゲイちゃんのお布団叩きって表現も、まあ、外れじゃないかね。
Rika-chan's face was already dripping with sweat. That hoe was probably really heavy. She staggered side to side with the momentum of each swing. Satoko looked on, silently lending her support.
心配か?
リカは毎日お餅つきの杵で練習してましたですの。きっとやりきるでございますわ。
Satoko's hands were sweaty, and whenever Rika-chan started to sway a little, she held her breath. It's like she's really worried that something bad will happen if she fails.
ミオンとかは巫女役 立候補しなかったのかよ。リカちゃんにあの重さは気の毒だよ。
そりゃ頼まれりゃやるけどね。まあ誰にでも務まるものでもないし。
そうだよな。ミコは清らかじゃないとダメだもんな。
Yeah, fair. Mion dove her elbow into my side. With the thud of a big drum, Rika-chan gave a solemn bow and descended from the altar. That triggered a round of generous applause. After the Shinto priest had raised up the cleansed futons like a portable altar, all the spectators stood up. Following after the priest, we all marched on at a moderate pace. Oh my gosh, I can't read! They descended the shrine's gate stairs in a line. Giant stairs in a line. What is happening to me?
今度は何が始まるんだ？布団を川で洗濯か？
だから綿流しだってば。
So we're just gonna throw them into the water. The process continued right up until the bank of the stream. The fire was stoked high and it was bright as day here too. People started crowding around it and clamoring.
はい、順番。並ぶよ、ケイチ君。
I wondered what was up. Maybe we'd get some holy wine? Red and white bean buns?
食べ物じゃないよ。だから、綿。
Okay. But of course. They didn't call it a watanagashi for nothing. Watanagashi. I understood. The municipal committee members pulled out cotton from inside the futons and balled up like mochi, handing it out to people. Oh, okay, so we're not throwing all the futons away. We're folding pieces of it. Okay. Still kind of not great for the environment, but better. And if it's natural cotton, that's not too bad, I suppose. It should be biodegradable. Rena dove into the line and brought out some for me as well. We then proceeded to the bank of the stream.
ケイチ君は初めてだから、レナのやり方を真似するんだよ。
She held the cotton in her right hand and waving her hand as if to purify it, she touched it to her forehead, chest, navel, and both thighs.
これを3回繰り返すの。心の中では、お社様ありがとうって唱えるんだよ。
Oyashiro. So that's the spirit.
お社様ってなんだよ。あの神社の神様の名前か？
うん。Hinamizawaの守り神様なの。ご利益もあるけど、たたりもあるんだからね。
It brings about both miracles and curses. I mean, purview of a deity, that makes sense, but still, so menacing in that cheerful voice.
ちゃんと敬わないとダメだよ。
That sounded like a pretty frightening god. But, well, when in Rome, I was officially a resident of Hinamizawa now, after all. Doing as Rena showed me, I touched the cotton over myself 3 times. Thank you, Oyashiro-sama. Thank you, Oyashiro-sama. Oyashiro-sama.
これでね、体についてた悪いのが、この綿に吸い取られたの。
So, it's one of the things that's interesting. So, like, we like to talk about this stuff in fantasy, but I genuinely have an actual opinion about this stuff. You have to remember that as weird as stuff is, when it comes to religion, you often can get really weirded out. Now, especially happens because we see some of the really dangerous and really strange, twisted cults that pop up occasionally, and they have weird rituals too, but you have to understand why it's like that. For the majority of human history, most people could not read and were barely able to have enough time to do much besides just work to survive. Like, it was a daily struggle to just fend off starvation for 99% of people. For those people, they wanted to understand and feel like that there was a purpose to life. Religion often filled that gap. They were taught, hey, this is the way things are, this is why the world works, and we need to do what we need to do what we can to continue the order to help bring prosperity to ourselves and to our families. So they were like, okay, that makes sense, because at the time it did, and they would do it. Why would they do it, and why would it make sense? It's because of symbolism. It doesn't take understanding how to read to be able to see how symbolically performing a ritual over the beds that you're told have gathered the sickness and evil that's been resting with you throughout the winter, which is the hardest time of the year when disease is most prevalent. You then take pieces of it, walk down to the river, a purifying process, a place where you throw waste and it washes it away and then it never becomes a problem again. You then take it and use it to kind of symbolically wash yourself off, thanking the divine being that's helping you with the process, and then tossing it away, letting the evil and the wickedness and the corruption be tossed away with it. Like, that's something that anybody can understand regardless of how much education you have. That's why ritualism is so prevalent in ancient religions and even modern religions. is because it's a universal way of helping instruct and to teach that doesn't require you to have studied scripture or to be a theologian. You can understand the tenets and the processes involved and know how you, regardless of how educated you are, can participate in your religion. Now, obviously, it's good to be studied and it's good to understand, and part of the reason why education tends to be seen as an antithesis to religion is because a lot of these rites start to feel hollow and echo and don't resonate as well when you see the source material. And you can see how it's like not quite in line, or it can be interpreted differently.
で、あとは沢の流れにそっと流してね。おしまい。
Together, Rena and I set out the pieces of cotton afloat on the surface of the water. The flowers of cotton blooming in the water had sucked out all the bad illness from Hinamizawa and drifted off, disappearing into the distance. It was wonderful, like those floating lantern festivals I'd seen on TV. The best part, though, was feeling like this rite of passage had made me a true resident of Hinamizawa. Okay. Is that going to be the end of the chapter? Because if so, I was lied to. That was not very long. At first, I was a bit anxious. Oh.
ちょっとした不安だった。誰かを傷つけたいなんて考えもしなかった。それでも不安は孤独を生んで疑念へと変わり、やがて黒い殺意が心を闇に閉ざしていった。戻らない日常。少年は足を踏み出す。その先が奈落の底だとも気づかずに。
Oh no.
鬼隠し。
Onikakushi.
信じたいと思う気持ちが生んだ悲劇。流した涙は懺悔か、それとも怨恨か。
Tragedy born of a desire to believe. That's the dark side of religion and faith. Oh boy. That's the game definitely telling us, like, okay, here's where stuff's gonna start getting real bad. But yeah, so that sounded like Rena talking. Like she is directly involved with the events that are about to happen. Which makes sense, but it's interesting. While staring off into the stream, I somehow got separated from Rena. I wasn't very lonely, though. I know this place now. This is where I live, my home. It's probably better if I just stay here instead of wandering around aimlessly. Someone would surely find me while I was enjoying the evening breeze. I heard a familiar voice. It was Tomitake-san's. I headed towards it.
どうですか、富武さん。いい写真はいっぱい撮れましたか？
ああ、おかげさまでね。
Tomitake-san was with a girl. I felt a little like I was intruding.
ケイチ君はどうだったかしら？
First of all, how do you know our name? Second of all, who are you? Interesting.
お祭りは楽しめた？
From the way she spoke, it seemed like she was a resident of Hinamizawa. I really should try harder to remember people's faces here. What was her name?
その、楽しかったです。
My face must have given away how desperately I was trying to remember her name because she gave a lighthearted chuckle.
ケイチ君はまだ引っ越してきて日が浅いんだそうだね。他の子たちととても親しげだったからとてもそうは思えなかったよ。
If that's how it looked, it was probably all thanks to Rena and Mion.
あなたも今日のお祭りに参加して自分がひなみ沢の人間になれたんだって。
どうなんでしょうね。
おや、ケイチ君らしくない返事だね。
I mean, I would. I would feel like that would be a very strong way to connect with a place is participating in their traditions. I had to try to get used to Hinamizawa, but there was still plenty of things I didn't know. The faces of the people I'd met, for example. Things that had happened in the past as well.
なんだ、その程度のことで君は疎遠に感じていたのかい？
疎遠なんて大げさなもんじゃないですよ。ただその、なんていうのか。
That incident in the damn construction site. The fighting over it and other conflicts. That terrible incident they pretended they didn't even know about whenever I brought it up. Even though it was in the past, as someone living in Hinamizawa, it wasn't wrong to want to know about the good and the bad that had happened here.
それを知ることで君が納得するなら、僕の知っている範囲で何でも教えるよ。
Tomitake-san's smile made me more than relieved than I'd ever been. It was hard to think of what to ask when someone said, "Ask me anything," though. Even when there was so much I wanted to ask.
じゃあ、ダム工事について聞かせてください。ひなみ沢が水没するとかいう大事件だったんですよね。
ダムについては多分ここの人に聞いた方が詳しいと思うけどな。ま、僕が知っている範囲でいいんなら。新聞で読んだ程度だけどね。
Tomitaka-san's eyes entered an unfocused gaze as he searched through his memory. Then he spoke.
ダムの計画が決まったのは7、8年くらい前なんだ。黒部に次ぐ巨大な計画だったと聞いてるね。
Right. I wonder if they're like, so this, like, obviously, like, the depiction of Hinamizawa for the game is based on a real location people shared with me in Discord, in the Discord group. Like the style of the houses and the general location. I wonder if the idea of building a dam in that area was actually a legitimate one and thus became the foundation of this story. Obviously, this one's going to take its own liberties with it, but like, I wonder if there's any truth to that or if it's just the general story, because it seems a fairly common story that you hear about wanting to build a dam. It's a good symbolism for the idea of like progress versus tradition and like the lives of common people. And like trying to do what's best for like the nation at large, even if it sacrifices the small and the few. It's a very common, really bitter story that never has any really good answers. There were 3 major issues in Japan at the time: improving inter-island transportation infrastructure, meeting the higher demand for electricity, and the flood control. There was a boom of dam building due to massive economic stimulus they provided on top of generating electricity and flood control. Hinamizawa had the right conditions to support dam construction, so it was singled out.
ダムの完成に伴って生まれるダム湖はかなりの面積になったらしいね。このhinami沢からずっと上流の矢郷地あたりまでが全部沈むことになったらしい。
That's crazy.
しかし、なんだって人が住んでるhinamizawa沢にわざわざダムを作るんですか？
Frankly, it's because areas that make good places to build dams are pretty infrequent. You don't really get to choose. It's just the way that nature, like the landscape works out.
もっと他の人が住んでないところに作ればいいのに。
よくは知らないんだが、ダムを作るのに適した地形ってのがあったって聞いてるね。
Of course, there were protests here in Hinamizawa. Rika-chan had said they'd had fought. From the choice of words, I'd guessed that things had turned violent.
裁判にもなったし、議会でも取り上げられたんだ。東京の新聞にも載ったよ。
Mion had told me all about that as well. I'm sure every resident in Hinamizawa had united to fight together. The feeling of solidarity found here, which could not be... Oh, fetch, I clicked the wrong one. Could not be expressed properly with mere words, was likely brought about by that battle. Oh, where'd you go?
いろいろな不祥事や汚職が発覚してね。ややこしいことになっているうちに工事中止が決まったんだそうだよ。
If I wanted to know, now was my only chance to ask. It was certainly a bizarre incident the boys my age would be curious about. Felt like a little shame in the fact that I was petty enough to have my own curiosity piqued by Rena and Mion's refusal to talk about the event. But I figured I might as well ask since I had the chance. Just so I would stop thinking about it so much.
バラバラ殺人ってありましたよね。
It's kind of painting that this question is going to be some kind of tipping point. Because he's my answer, but something's gonna happen.
あったよ。偶然その時期にhinamizawa沢にいてね。だからよく覚えてるよ。
Tomitaka-san's answer was nonchalant in contrast to my hesitant forced-out question.
ちょうど4年前の今頃だったかな。
4 years ago.
あれも確か綿流しの日だったね。
Oh gosh. Debate on whether or to continue construction of the dam was in disarray. Scandal after scandal rocked the project near to the end. The incident that was the final nail in the coffin for the dam project. A fight at the dam construction site ended with the victim being murdered. Fearing prosecution, the 6 assailants divided their remains into 6 pieces and each hid one. 5 of the 6 criminals turned themselves in out of guilt, but one was still on the run. The right arm he'd hidden had yet to be found. The major details lined up with what was in the tabloid I'd read earlier. It certainly was a tragic incident, but it wasn't so terrible that Ren and Mion needed to hide it from me. I guess they didn't want someone who just moved here to have a negative impression of Hinamizawa, or they're protecting someone. I felt grateful for having friends who worried so much about me, as well as shame for still being so interested in it.
当時はダムのトラブルの末期だったからね。Oyashiro様のたたりだって言ってずいぶん騒がれたんだよ。
Right.
お社様のたたりか。
Oyashiro-sama was the name of the god of the shrine that held the festival today, if I recalled correctly. I mean, yeah, it was literally 5 minutes ago. Or, no, probably more like 15 minutes ago. I see. Their guardian deity rained divine punishment down on the evil dam construction for trying to flood Hinamizawa. Oh dear.
若い人たちはそうは思わなかったみたいだけれど
I don't like your smiles. Why are you so smiley about this? And you especially. Ugh, you're terrifying. I thought-
お年寄りたちはお社様のたたりだと疑わなかったみたいね
The woman Tomitake-san chuckled mischievously. Tomitake-san began laughing with her. It was so infectious I ended up laughing as well.
でも今ではどうかしらね結構いるんじゃないかしら若い人にも
いるって何がですか？
信じてる人だよ。お社様のたたり。
The woman's lips were still curled into a smile, but her expression turned stern.
その後ね、毎年起こるんだよ。
Uh-oh.
決まって今頃にね。
Uh-oh, wait a minute.
怒るって何が？
Tomitake-san paused for a second as if to build up some suspense, then he whispered to me as if someone might be listening.
毎年綿流しの日になるとね、
Oh no.
誰かが死ぬんだよ。
Oh no. So somebody dies, and you all are just cool with that. That's terrifying.
バラバラ殺人の翌年の綿流しの日、
Oh my gosh.
ひなみ沢の住人でありながらダムの誘致派だった男が旅行先で崖下の濁流に転落して死亡した。
Okay.
奥さんに至っては死体も上がってない。
南沢の人間でありながらダムに賛成していた男ですからね
Maybe he was enticed by the money, because oftentimes when governments buy out buildings to do stuff like that, they'll offer more than competitive rates to try and make it appealing, because they need to buy everything or else it won't work.
事故当時お年寄りたちはお社様のたたりだとささやきあったものよ
But is it the curse, or is it people finding an excuse to do something terrible? Because it's an easy way to blame it. Like, to put aside the blame or to make people not be willing to find an answer. The woman chuckled mischievously again.
さらに翌年、綿流しの晩、今度は神社の神主が原因不明の奇病で急死した。
Weird.
奥さんはその晩のうちに沼に受水自殺した。
Okay, why is it pairs? Why is it like a guy dies and his spouse?
神社の神主って今日のこの神社の神主ですか？
The woman nodded.
村人たちはお社様のお怒りを鎮めきれなかったんだって噂したわね
さらに翌年、これもまた綿流しの晩。
Is that why Sotoko was so worried for Rika? Like, if she messed up the thing, maybe she's worried she would be like the next victim.
今度は近所の主婦が撲殺体で発見された。
Housewife. Up until now, all these mysterious deaths were people involved at the dam who had connections with Oyashiro-sama. With that in mind, could the housewife have been involved in some way too?
その通りよ
The woman stated slyly. No, it was more menacingly.
被害者の一家はねその2年前に転落死したダム誘致派の男の弟一家に当たるのよ
See, that means that, like, if you're believing in the curse, that the curse is literally going after anybody, regardless of what their positions was now, because they were somewhat related to the problem. That sounds to me more like a serial killer, or people who are, have a bloodlust, because they're trying to find excuses, but the logic is really unsound.
弟本人はまだ生きてるらしいね。でもやはりかなり気にしてね。近隣の町に引っ越してったらしいよ。
Right. For a while, I stood there with my mouth agape. The battle over the dam construction with Hinamizawa's future at stake, and the murder at the center of it all. That was all I knew. It was all I wanted to ask about. But that wasn't all there was to the story. Homicide, body disposal, accidental deaths, terminal illness, suicide, fatal beatings. I'm a pretty level-headed person. I don't really want to believe in curses, but the freakish deaths happening every year, the day of Watanagashi, and all of them were related to the dam construction? It was easy to dismiss them each as coincidence by themselves, but when you put them all together, dismissing all of them as a coincidence, wouldn't that defy logic? No, and yes. It kinda does, because it's too consistent. Again, that makes me feel like an intelligent person, like not like, oh, super intelligent. I'm talking more of like a thoughtful, methodical individual, not acts of nature, is behind this. You could attribute that to a god, but it's a lot more easy to believe it's a malicious person who felt like they got away with it once, and it was blamed on the god, and they used the god as a way to justify these actions. I don't believe in curses, but every single year on the day of Watanagashi, somebody or something makes it happen without fail. The woman chuckled again as if she picked up on what I was thinking. It felt like she was saying, maybe there was, maybe we frightened him, stuff like that. I felt embarrassed at being read so easily. I pressed Tomatake-san to continue, but a bit of impatience and irritation in my tone. Oh my gosh.
で、その翌年の綿流しの晩にもまた人が死ぬわけですよね。今度は誰です？
さーてね。圭一君は誰だと思うかな？
The brother.
あ？
The way he said it didn't agree with me. The sarcastic tone ticked me off.
はぐらかさないでくださいよ。俺は結構真剣に。
まあまあ圭一君落ち着いて。
I realized when she tried to calm me down that I'd been panicking.
別にはぐらかしたつもりはないんだよ、圭一君。つまり、その翌年の綿流しってのは、つまり。
That's this year.
今日よ。
When Tomatake-san hesitated to say it, she finished for him. I broke into a cold sweat. I really didn't like the direction this was heading.
みんな口にしないけど、今夜また何か起こるんじゃないかって思ってる。
こんなにお祭りで賑わってるのに？
あのね、去年の被害者の主婦は不信心者だったらしくてね。
Oh, this isn't boding well for our family.
綿流しのお祭りに参加しなかったらしいの。
Oh no. Did our parents attend the festival?
今年の綿流しに参加しないと、お社様の怒りに触れるかもしれないって噂。
Oh no.
圭一君なら聞いてるんじゃないかい？
No! I never even heard a whisper about the rumor. Oh gosh, but think about it. If they are people who genuinely believe in the curse, right? Think about this. You would want to stop, like, you would want new people to not hear about that on purpose. That might be why they're so cagey about talking about it, because you're still considered an outsider until you participate in the festival. Once you participate in the festival, you become kind of adopted in because you've accepted, like, essentially the contract. And so then you're kind of privy to the town's secrets. And they probably, like, I bet you if we ask Mion and Rena now, they'll be a lot more open about things because it's a test. If you move in and you start integrating and you don't participate and uphold the traditions, you're an outsider and you're branded an outsider forever. That would make sense. It also means you're a target for whoever's doing the will of the gods.
じゃあみんなのお祭りの参加はたたりを恐れて？
そうなんじゃないかと思うね。今年の綿流しは例年になく参加者が多いよ。
Interesting.
やっぱりみんな怖いんでしょうね。
Oh, I don't like you, woman. You're terrifying.
お社様のたたり。
I think they're trying to play it off like she's just messing with us, but like I feel like she's getting too into it. Couldn't utter a single word. In the modern age, where we've made progress in all scientific fields, shedding light on the unknown and misunderstood, where black and white television have been eradicated and we've sent men to the moon, even with all our accomplishments, this can exist in modern society?
桜ってことで近隣の町の子供会をかなり招待したらしいけど、やっぱり一連の事件を受けてあんまり参加はなかったみたいね。人集めに苦労してるって町会の人がぼやいてたもの。
警察もね、過去の事件は全て別個のもので関連性はないとしてるみたいだけど、ね。
It almost sounds like when she says this here, like how they send invitations, but people wouldn't want to travel for it. Like the committee was like complaining that like it's hard to get people here. So what if we make a curse? What if the committee is committing the murders?
警備ってことで私服警官をだいぶ立たせてたみたいだよ。
It finally began to dawn on me why Ren and Mion were reluctant to talk. If nothing happened during the Watanagashi, everything would have been over with, and I'd be none the wiser. If nothing happened, all would be well. In that case, it would all end up being just crazy talk. I should have just pretended like I knew nothing from the beginning. Then they wouldn't have to act like nothing happened, and we would have gone back to life as usual.
やっぱり刺激が強すぎたかしら。
The woman ran her fingers through her hair. She sighed.
いえ、そんな全然。
I had tried to act strong, but that just served to emphasize how much information had unsettled me. After seeing how I looked, Tomatake-san appeared to regret saying anything. Letting out a sigh, he then spoke, forcing an awkward, upbeat demeanor.
まさか圭一君、たたりなんて信じてるわけじゃないだろう。
Right, now they're gonna try and play it off as like, it's nothing.
そりゃ、まあ。
全ての事件が原因不明で犯人も手口も謎っていうなら僕もたたりを疑ってもいいよ。だけど実際には違う。どの事件もちゃんと警察が捜査して真相や犯人を究明してる。
Hearing him say police made me feel a lot better. It was perfect for repelling the word curse.
例えば一番最初のバラバラ殺人言ったよね。犯人は一人を残して全員逮捕されてる。残った一人だって時間の問題さ。動機だって酒の上での口論からと判明してる。たたりなんかじゃないだろ。
That was true. If it didn't happen on the day of Watanagashi, then I wouldn't think it would be related to the curse at all.
次の誘致派の夫婦の事故死だってそうさ。恨みを買う立場だったからね。警察が特に入念に捜査したと思うよ。それで発表は事故。
So they looked for somebody who might have tried to orchestrate it, but couldn't find evidence of anything but an accident.
他殺じゃない。
でも、また綿流しの日に起きたんですよね。
考えてもみなよ、圭一君。ひなみ沢に敵が多かった彼が地元のお祭りにおちおち参加できると思うかい？彼にとっては綿流しの時期は特にひなみ沢に居づらい時期に違いないよ。
So they might have planned a trip purposely around that time.
だからわざわざこの時期に旅行をし、意図的にひなみ沢を離れようとしたんじゃないかな。
It wasn't a very clear explanation, but I sort of understood what Tomatake-san was getting at. So I pressed on earnestly, asking more questions I could convince myself.
じゃあ富武さん、その次に死んだ神主さんはどうです？原因不明の奇病だって。それもまたしても綿流しの日に。
Yeah.
神主さんはもっと説明がつきやすいよ。綿流しのお祭りは神主さんにとっては年に一度の大行事。あるいはもともと持病持ちだったのかもしれない。
でも奇病ですよ。この医学の進歩した時代に原因不明なんて。
You're pretty far from a hospital.
尾ひれだよ。噂が噂を呼んだだけさ。2年立て続けに事件が起これば誰だって過敏になるよ。急死は確かに不自然だったかもしれないけど、こういう死に方をすると必ず警察が検視をする。で、事件性は発見されなかったんだろう。
Right.
本当に偶然の病死なんだよ。
確か神主の奥さんが自殺してますよね。じゃあこれは？
すでに説明した通りさ。3年目の事件に村人たちは動揺していた。信心深い人たちはすぐにたたりだと決めてかかったのさ。
And they made poor choices because of it. Another big downside to faith and religion is that when you build mysticism, when you build belief and tie actions to mysticism, you can make associations that don't make sense and believe that you need to do certain things or else bad things will happen, and that can lead people down very dark roads.
もちろん神主の奥さんもね、自殺の際に死んでお社様の怒りをお鎮めするみたいな遺書が見つかったらしいし。
じゃあ次の主婦の事件はまたしても綿流しの日に。
Unfortunately, domestic violence actually tends to be more prominent and more common on days of celebration and when you have get-togethers and things, especially because really jealous people will overreact.
この事件は犯人も逮捕されて解決してるよ。一種の異常者でひなみ沢のたたり騒ぎを面白がって再現したと自供してる。
Okay, so that is something, like that's what I thought that might be going on.
じゃあ次の年の事件は
this year. Keiichi, you're getting calm down, bro. Oh yeah, this is the year is the next year. Tomatake-san gave me a hearty laugh.
もう何も起こらないよ。今度こそね。お社様のたたりなんてもともとない。一連の偶然を あると信じている人たちがそうだと吹聴しているだけさ。
My internal computer finally got itself back on track. I felt a bit embarrassed by how childish I'd been after losing control and panicking.
僕は圭一君がひなみ沢をとても好きだと思ってること、仮にお社様のたたりが実在したとしても、そんな圭一君にたたりがあるなんてとても思えないね。
I felt very relieved. I should probably just forget everything I heard tonight. I'll greet Rena and Mion tomorrow with the same smile as always. They'd probably also like tonight to end without incident, so I can continue on tomorrow without having worried me. Perhaps seeing my change in attitude, the woman who had been listening to stretched and she got it from the rock she was sitting on.
さてと、そろそろ私は戻らないとね。
おっと、僕も少々長くおしゃべりしすぎたかな。
There were so few people compared to the crowd from before, I could only make out a few groups of families enjoying the cool evening air. I looked at my watch. It seemed we'd been talking for the better part of an hour.
圭一君もお友達と一緒に来たんでしょ。みんなを探したら。
そうだった。みんな俺のことを探してるかもしれない。
女の子に探させるなんてなかなかの罪人だね。
じゃあね、おやすみなさい、圭一君。二郎さんもね。また後ほど。
Tomatake-san seemed to be quite the scoundrel himself, so his name is Jiro. After dusting her off her backside, she disappeared into the crowd of people still busy cleaning up the shrine grounds. Ah, good timing. In her place, Rena came running over. I could see all the others behind her. Speaking of the devil.
悪い悪い、ケイちゃん。すっかり話し込んじゃっててさ。
I'd completely forgotten about when we caught up in my own conversation, so we were even.
富武さんもご一緒でございましたの。ちょうどよかったですわ。
Why?
今日の射的の結果発表がありますです。
How? What? We clearly won.
あ、そうだったね。結局ビリは僕なのかな。
In the end, after my dramatic victory, Rika-chan was the last challenger, but there weren't many targets left. The one remaining were all tiny and difficult to hit. She'd taken her time and aim, but all 3 shots completely missed. She was to end up sharing the loser's crown with Tomatake-san. I'm sorry, Rika. However, she did her little meeping cry in front of the owner, and he turned to mush instantly. She was given a pack of gum as a consolation prize. Her methods were a bit audacious, but she did avoid being a loser rather magnificently. Oh wow.
思うにリカちゃんって結構タヌキだろ。
She knows she's the best kind of trickster slash I'd say this qualifies for lying too, but trickster works good. Where you are usually trustworthy, like diligent, like level-headed, because then you choose the moments where you play that trickster role or you say that lie, and it becomes a lot more believable because 99% of the time it absolutely is believable. And it works.
圭一の言ってる意味がわかりませんです。
Uh-huh.
なわけで、ビリは富武さんに決まり。
Everyone cheered and applauded. Tomatake-san smiled wryly, slightly bewildered.
じゃあ富武さん、覚悟はいいかな？罰ゲーム。
Oh no.
え？あ、忘れてた。
You're too naive, Tomatake-san. This is why you gotta avoid losing in our club. Mion pulled a felt tip marker out of her pocket. Oh, it's that.
ミオン、武士の情けだ。せめて水星にしてやれ。優勢は辛い。
優勢じゃないとダメだよ。
Oh no.
お洗濯したら落ちちゃうじゃない。
なんだいお手柔らかに頼むよ。
All of us pinned his arms behind his back, and Mion approached him with a marker in one hand.
キュッキュッキュッだ。
But she didn't write on Tomatake-san's face, she wrote on his shirt with which he was wearing. You'd better have your big break this year, Mion. Rena took up the marker next. Show me your photos next time, okay, Rena? It was a little heartwarming, and I just had to laugh.
これじゃあ罰ゲームってより寄せ書きじゃないか。
私は甘くはありませんのよ。
No, I'm sure you're not.
ちゃんと罰ゲームでいきますわ。
What do you say? Haha, dead last. Satsuko. Yeah, fair. Try harder next time, Rika.
圭一さんもどうぞでございます。
I couldn't decide what to write, but based on what kind of penalty this was probably the most appropriate. Come back and play again, Keiichi. Tomitake-san was silent the entire time. At first he was quite bewildered, but now he had a different look on his face.
これを着たまま帰郷するのも罰ゲームのうちに入るのかな。
Yes, yes.
もちろんちゃんと着たまま家に帰ってね。
次に来る時にも着てきてくれるといいな。いいな。
He appeared deeply moved. Embarrassment mixed with a wealth of other emotions made him turn bright red. Aww.
わかった。次に来る時もこれを着てくるよ。約束する。
Everyone cheered and applauded. It was the finest parting gift possible for a buddy heading out tonight. I saw the woman who was with Tomitake-san standing near the festival grounds. It seemed Tomitake-san noticed her too and knew it was time to leave.
お連れ様がお待ちみたいじゃん。そろそろお時間かな。
そうみたいだね。
I like how she said that. Isn't it about time? Like, it feels more like she's like telling him to do something. Tomitake-san headed off towards her and seemed to apologize for making her wait. We all shouted stuff at Tomitake-san. Each time we did, he looked back and waved his hand. Eventually, he faded into the darkness of the night out of sight. It was all quite a casual farewell. This wasn't the first time any of us had seen someone off. They had done the same thing many times before. Here comes the hammer. Here comes the boot. I've been thinking about it for a while. It's been coming for a while, but it's here now. I can feel it.
行っちゃったね。
じゃ、うちらも引き上げるかね。
Rika-chan had to stay behind while the other committee members, since they were having a meeting. Satoko was tagging along with her. I headed back home with the usual suspects. The walk back was quite lively, and we talked of the day's war stories. There's a car over there. Should have done this, should have done that kind of stuff. Rena and I parted ways with Mion, then it was just the two of us. We got to my house, and I parted ways with Rena as well.
こんな時間だけど一人で大丈夫か？
全然平気だよ。近いし、走っていくし。
Oh my gosh, really?
変な奴がいたら大声出せよ。
出したら、助けに来てくれるのかな？かな？
You two, good grief, just get married already. It's me.
聞こえたらな。
聞こえるくらい大きな声を出すね。
What a goofball. Merrily spinning her arms around at high speed, Rena dashed off. She was fine. In that mode, not even an adult could stand against her. Rena's cheerful presence disappeared and it finally became quiet again. The curse that not a soul mentioned even under their breath. The more I learned about it tonight, the more unsettled I became. It didn't show on any of their faces, but they were probably all quite concerned about it as well. But if nothing happens tonight, then it all ends up being just crazy talk. Nothing will happen, nothing bad, nothing at all.
どうしたのケイチ、そんなところで。中に入りなさい。風邪をひくわよ。
It was my mom.
母さんは行った？綿流しのお祭り。
結局お父さんが起きなかったからね。
Uh-oh.
行きそびれちゃったわ。
Uh-oh.
残念。
Mom stuck out her tongue a bit and with a bit of an embarrassed look on her face. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh no. I don't like where that's going. Oh, crap. Like, did he not wake up because he's not around anymore? Oh no. Oh, there's so many tips now. Okay, we're gonna do all of them though. It'll be a bit of a longer episode, but that's fine. Okay. Oh, it's gonna be the stories of the different incidents and then the radio log. Okay. Hojo couple's falling incident. From the June 1980 edition. On the afternoon of XX on 2 p.m., Officer Employee Blank and his family Blank of Hinamizawa Village in Shishibone Prefecture disappeared after falling 27 meters from an observatory platform in Shirakawa Prefecture. Police and firefighters searched downstream and discovered the body of X around 7 p.m. that night. His wife, X, has yet to be found. The search has run into difficulties due to the effects of Typhoon 3 from the previous day. It appears the railing of the observatory that the X leaned on had broken, causing them to fall. The groundskeeping staff were questioned by police in regards to facility deterioration, and the park maintenance was performed properly. That was really short. Number 2, the terminal illness and death of Shinto priest Furude. From the June 1981 edition. On the afternoon of XX around 10 p.m. in the X district of Hinamizawa village in Shishibone Prefecture, the Shinto priest of Furude Shrine had passed away after an existing condition he was recovering from suddenly worsened. Parties close to the deceased said he was suffering from anxiety issues concerning the festival which was to be held that day. Also, after X's death, his wife went missing, leaving behind a farewell note. The police and local youth association continued the search, however, given the presence of the farewell message, the fact that the Onikakushi swamp is said to be bottomless, they have run into difficulties. The youth helped too, so the kids might have been involved in searching for her. Housewife murder. God, it is really disturbing, isn't it? It wasn't reported in the newspaper. Oh, that's all it says. It never got talked about. Interesting. So it was bad, but why would it never make local news? Weird. Maybe people were trying to cover it up. Radio log.
3号です。感度良好。
Sounds like a military operation.
はい、3号了解。 今、先生が到着しました。運びたいそうですがどうしますか？どうぞ。了解しました。先生に任せてください。はい、了解です。応援も到着しました。先に写真撮らせた方がいいんじゃないですか？外車、もう無駄だと思いますし。
So the doctor. So maybe someone did die. Alright, well, that leaves some interesting questions, doesn't it? That's where we're going to end things for tonight. That was pretty good. Thank you so much for whoever commented on last week's episode, or the week before, that this one we did broken up into 2. It was perfect. Being able to break it up like that was wonderful. So thank you for that little tip, just because the lengthwise worked out well. Oh man, things are going to get real spicy real quick, I think. I'm interested to see what's going to happen. I mean, it talks about how he's like now he's going to be walking into an abyss. So it's going to get rough, but hopefully things will, well, maybe not have a happy ending, but maybe we'll have a resolution that is satisfying. We'll have to see, but I appreciate you all being here. Thank you so much for joining me on the channel and for joining me for this wonderful story. Oh boy, wonderful is a word, isn't it? And thank you to the patrons and members so much for your support. You guys are amazing. I don't deserve you. I'm going to try and do my best to make sure to make good content for each and every one of you and just to try and make things worthwhile. But all said and done, I'm just really grateful to have your time and attention and that you can share these wonderful stories with me and let me kind of share my experience with them. Hope you're having a great holiday season, that you're looking forward to New Year's, and that together we can enjoy it as we go into the next year with good stories to share and new stuff to try. And yeah, thank you so much. And until the next video, watch me up. See me in next. I'll see you there.